Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Jones. I'm going to be your instructor for Math 1340. Got some college algebra this semester. I'm excited for the course. This video is going to kind of outline it a bit and give you just a kind of a quick overview. Almost think of this as like a syllabus that you don't have to read through, 20 pages. So I'm gonna kind of try to pare that down into a short video, give you the details you need, and show you a little bit about the course webpage in MyCourses. We can see here I'm right on the homepage of our course. When you sign into MyCourses, you'll be able to access the classes that you're taking. You can click on college algebra, and then you should be at this same page that I'm at. This page will look a little bit different, as well as some of the other pages I go through today. I'm going to be doing this in instructor view instead of student view, so some things will look a little different, but should still be good. Like I said, we're going to do kind of a tour of all this, and as we tour the course page, I'll talk about the course and the logistics of it. Kind of, what's expected of you, what's expected of me, where to find certain things, stuff like that. One thing I will start with, though, before we get into the actual tour, is just talking about communication and talking about help and things like that. The biggest thing that I want you to know in this course is that even though it's online, that does not mean that you have to teach yourself this material. Now, while we don't have lecture times or anything like that, I am always available to help you out. If you ever have a quick question on a problem, you can shoot me an email. If you ever want to meet, we can meet either virtually or in person. You have me as a resource. If you just want extra problems to work on, shoot me an email and I can help you with that. So please do not hesitate to reach out to me, just as if this was an in-person class, if not more. Because if this were an in-person class, we'd get to see each other 2 or 3 times a week. But given that it's online, we don't. So please communicate with me, reach out to me for help, utilize me as a resource. And with that, what I will say is I actually will have dedicated office hours for this course. And I also will have in-person office hours at the Larimer campus for Front Range, so up in Fort Collins. If you ever want to swing by my office to chat, whether that's during office hours or at a different time, you are more than welcome to. There's obviously also email and Zoom that we can meet on. I'll post all the details of those times and days and things like that. But just know that you can meet with me pretty much whenever and however you want. So wonderful. Let's go ahead and jump into the sort of MyCourses tour here. Homepage here. The biggest thing here is announcements. Currently, there's no announcements, but this is where I will post details for you, information. But most importantly, it's where I will post immediate things you may need to look at. So maybe something comes up that is extremely time sensitive. Hey, I need you all to do this. Announcements is where this will post. So you are expected to log in to both your email and to MyCourses daily. Not only to check on your other classes, but to check on mine as well, and certainly to be checking for announcements. So announcements will go right there. You'll see those as they pop up throughout the course. But I'm going to go ahead and start by just basically going through this whole navigation bar at the top. Content is the biggest one. We'll click on some of the others, but content is where I'm going to start. This is basically where you're going to spend 90% of your time in the course, or at least coming here to then take you somewhere else. So we can see a table of contents. We got all these what I call modules on the left side. I have some introduction modules, some welcome stuff, but then you can see it just goes week 1 all the way down to week 10, and then there's some other stuff here, some helpful things. But these weekly modules are kind of the bread and butter. These are pretty much what you are going to be clicking on each week. There's dates there. You can see them, so you know when to click and where to click. This intro stuff, I'm not really going to go through it too much. It just schedules and syllabi, a little bio about myself. MyCourses intro video, that's from a prior semester, and I'll obviously overwrite that with the video that you're currently watching. MML links, we'll talk about that in a moment. I want to click on just one of these weekly modules just to take a look at kind of what this looks like. So I've clicked on week 3 here. Actually, let's click on week 2. So we can see that I start off with a little overview of week 2. We can see kind of a bullet point list of what you're going to do this week, what you're expected to be able to do. And then we get into assignments, and I have the due dates listed as well as what assignments you're expected to do. This is going to seem very repetitive. If I clicked on any other module for any other week, it would look pretty much exactly the same. Every week, you're going to have a midweek due date that is typically on a Thursday, and an end-of-week due date that is typically on a Monday. Now, if you're wondering, wait a minute, Monday is not the end of the week. In our class, it is. In our class, our quote-unquote week will, for the most part, run from Tuesday to Monday. I have my reasons for that. If you're curious, you can ask me why. But typically, our important dates in this course are Tuesday is the start of a week, Thursday is a midweek due date, Monday is the end of the week. There are some exceptions to that. The dates here will show you those exceptions, and I will make posts and announcements when there are exceptions. But keep that in mind. It's not sort of on a calendar week thing. This midweek due date, though, has a discussion post that you're going to be required to do. And then there are lecture videos to watch as well as RAs. Those are reading assessments. The short of it is there's assignments to do that are due by Thursday of every week. And then at the end of the week due dates, discussion reply, and then you can see there's homework and there's a quiz. So those are, sort of the bigger things to do, but you have the whole week to do them. The idea here is that I'm giving you a midweek deadline to sort of force you to get logged in, to take a look at the material, to familiarize yourself with it. And then you have, several more days, half a week more to kind of practice more, do some homework, take a quiz, then we move on to the next week. So that's kind of an overview of your assignments. Of course, we'll take a look at what those look like in a moment. But if I scroll down a little bit more, you'll see links to a lot of things. Lecture videos for each section, as well as sometimes there's some supplemental lecture videos. So here, this isn't, specifically on section 1.9 or specifically on section 2.2, but it does kind of slot right in between them. So that's obviously worth watching as well. If we look down at the bottom, you can see a discussion topic. This is where up above you can see we had discussion posts and replies that were required for you to do. These discussions largely boil down to watching a video, reading an article, coming up with some thoughts, responding to those, and then you can respond to other classmates and sort of create a dialogue there. These discussion topics are great. They're usually not mathematical in the sense of working on problems, but they're mathematical in the sense that they get you to think about how math works in the world around us. So fun discussion topics if you ask me, but that's something that you'll have to do weekly. We'll get into the details of that a little bit more later in the video. This right here is definitely going to be the biggest thing that you'll click on. I have this in every weekly module. This takes us to MML, which is My Math Lab. I'll also note that's sometimes called MLM, My Lab Math. The acronyms kind of change here and there. So you'll see me use both. I think I use MML a bit more frequently though. So MML, this takes you to your assignments. And we'll click on that in a second, and we'll look at what that looks like. But that's where 90% of your assignments are going to be completed in. You'll click on this link. It'll take you to an external website. You'll do your reading assessments, the RAs. You'll do your homework. You'll do the quizzes. There you go. And honestly, great, you're done with week 2. Now October 7th rolls around. We click on week 3. Let it load for a moment. We scroll down and we see pretty much the exact same thing. Midweek due date, RAs, some videos, a discussion post, end of week due date, homework, a discussion reply, a quiz. In this week, there's an exam. Scroll down, you have links to lecture videos, you have links to MML, you have a discussion topic that you can click on and work on. And there you go. So pretty sort of repetitive. I've tried to do that purposely to make it easy to follow. And we just got the weekly modules. We do have down below these weekly modules, we have e-text chapters. There's some other things here like how-to videos and need math help and helpful links. I think this e-text chapters is definitely the most important and what I want to spend some time looking at. These are clickable links to basically a PDF of a textbook. So if you want to work on quadratic equations, you can click on 1.4. If you want to work on parallel and perpendicular lines, 2.4. So this is great for extra reading, and there's some practice problems in here. I highly recommend clicking through these and using them as a resource. It'll be really helpful. So e-text chapters down at the bottom. What I'd like to do though, I'd like to go back. Let's go back to week 2 here, and let's click on this MML all assignments, and let's take a look at where 90% of your homework is going to kind of be completed in. I just shouldn't even say homework. Where 90% of the work you do in this class will be done. So give me a second here. As I had said, there's some instructor view versus student view differences here. So I'm just getting to a place that we can see everything. So on your end, it'll be pretty straightforward and obvious when you click into My Math Lab. You'll just see the assignments that you need to work on. This is my view of it, and where I can see all of the assignments and I can see everything. And this should look very repetitive. There's a reading assessment, there's a homework, there's a reading assessment, there's a homework, and so on and so forth for each and every section. So like we had seen before, these reading assessments have a midweek due date. For example, this is due on the 25th. And then the homework has an end of week due date on the 29th. And then so on and so forth. This just repeats and repeats and repeats. Occasionally, our discussion posts have their own assignment attached to it. Those are reading assessments as well. If I keep scrolling down, we just see this for every section of our course. Section 7.5 is the end. As you can also note, we have weekly quizzes. So there's 9 weekly quizzes here. They are always due at the end of the week. They cover all of the sections from that week. And these sort of mimic, like an exam. They're quizzes, so you don't have resources and whatnot. So yeah, end of week quizzes. I also have some exam reviews. These are completely optional. You can work on these at any moment in the course that you feel like. You can see the dates. I set a due date for it. You do get a score for these, but I don't upload these grades or anything at all. So totally optional on the reviews. I have some exams that are old, and then I have exams that I'm calling the best. These are our exams. They have dates that they run on. You will take them in my math lab, just like you do your homeworks and your quizzes. So this is a good little view of everything, just to kind of see how it's laid out. Like I said, on your end, if you log in on a certain date, you will see the assignments that you need to be working on. So I had said before, make sure you're checking your emails, make sure you're logging into the course to view announcements daily. You should be checking My Math Lab very frequently. If you look at these due dates, there are right here on what I'm highlighting over, there's 6 assignments due in this week. And then scroll down a little more, there's another 6 assignments due both midweek and end of week, right? So there's a lot of assignments. These aren't super long, but it does require you to be checking in on the course frequently. You can click on Gradebook over here to view your grades. I actually don't recommend that. It's a little bit misleading, this gradebook. I think it's much better to come back to My Courses and click on the gradebook up here where it says grades. I'm not going to do that right now, but you can click on your grades and it will show you your grades. So yeah, so there we go. So that's my math lab. As I had said, that shows you 90% of the work you're going to do in the course. If we go back to this kind of, overview of the week here, that's where you see your RAs, those reading assessments, the homeworks, and the quizzes. The lecture videos that are bullet pointed here are, of course, right below, linked. The only other thing in here is discussion post. With that, you can access discussions from two places. Up at the top, it says discussions, but you can also go down in each weekly module and you can just see the discussion topic right in there. If I even click on like week 7 and I scroll down, boom, what is an inverse discussion topic? So you can read this and you can see it, and that's right there for you to access. I'm going to go ahead and click on discussions though, because this actually just shows all of them, and that's kind of nice. I have some general sort of threads that if anybody has any general questions, or if you have questions on grades or things like that, you can post them here. These are not anonymous, so keep that in mind. But then I scroll down and I see week 1, some discussions, week 2, week 3, week 4, and we just keep scrolling down. As you can see, most of these say post by Thursday, reply by Monday. For this week, there's a complete an MML homework as well. For this week, there's not. For week 6. So these discussion posts, similar to the MML, they have a midweek deadline. So you're expected to post by Thursday. And what that does is that gives students a chance to reply to your post by Monday. So we're reading articles, we're watching videos, we're responding to questions, things like that. These are pretty straightforward, but if you do have any questions, you're obviously welcome to reach out via email. Yeah, there's discussions right there. Let's go back to content. Right there, we've sort of seen already everything that you're required to do in this course. Discussion posts, the MML assignments, but one thing I want to mention is on our exams. Our exams run a little bit differently, and the reason for that is that we have to have these exams be proctored. So in order for these exams to be proctored, we scroll up a little bit, and we click on this module, Exam Proctoring with HonorLock. So we use HonorLock, which is a software that proctors you. Basically what it does is you turn on your webcam, you have your surroundings in view of the frame, and you take your test. And if HonorLock suspects that you're cheating in any way, it will flag it, and it'll maybe even somebody pops in and says, hey, you're not allowed to be using that calculator, or you have a textbook open and you're reading it, you can't do that. And then I, of course, also get those notifications and I check on them as well, and all that. So HonorLock is honestly pretty seamless, although it can be a little weird the first time you take it, the first time you utilize it. If you do want to, you are allowed to take your tests in person, but they have to be done at a Front Range testing center. Personally, I find that taking the test in person can lead to more hiccups than taking it with HonorLock. So if it's purely a preference thing, I recommend that you use HonorLock. But that said, there are some people that they have accommodations or they really prefer to take it in person. So you are welcome to, but you do have to contact me and let me know about taking your test in person. So I recommend HonorLock, but let me know if you want to take it in person. In HonorLock, honestly, in this module, there's a whole lot of just resources and FAQs and common questions and camera angle examples and so many things like that. How to schedule an appointment at a testing center, all sorts of things here. By and large, the biggest thing that you're going to do is you're going to click on the HonorLock dashboard. When you click on this, you can then select the exam that you're going to take. And when you select that exam, it will run you through sort of a list of checks. Like I said, it'll make sure your webcam is on. It'll make sure your other tabs are closed. It'll make sure you don't have a second monitor enabled. It'll make sure that, your face is in the camera, appropriately. It'll make sure that there's not people in your background. It'll basically run through all these checks. And once it does that, it will take you into MyMathLab, where you will then take the exam. So this is where, like I had said before, the exams are a little different. You don't go directly into MML to take the exam. You click here on the HonorLock dashboard. You do have to be in Chrome. There's a whole bunch of requirements. There's things that you have to have. There will be a lot more details on that in the future. But by and large, know that clicking here is how you will take your exams. So, yeah, there's HonorLock and exam proctoring. One other thing to note with your exam is that you are required to submit your work for the exam. I'm even going to go a step further with this. I do not grade your exam based on what you enter in to MyMathLab. I grade it based on the work that you show me. So even though this is an online course, and even though you are taking this exam online, almost pretend that it is in person, like I'm handing you a piece of paper and you have to write out your work. And like an in-person exam, if you don't write something down on the paper, then I don't see it and you don't get points for it. So you do have to submit your work. You have to handwrite all of your work. You got to do all of that. And the way you submit your work, it's basically just like a Dropbox folder. You just upload your work into MyCourses. What's a little weird is you do that in what is called the Assignments tab up here. I don't have a way of changing the name of this tab, so it's stuck at Assignments. But if you click on it, you will see that I have basically just made folders that you can click on these and you can upload your work. One thing I will note with this work is it is required to be in a PDF and one PDF. So that is going to require you to take photos of your work with your phone. So, if you have, you have your paper, you take your exam, you have all of your work, take your phone if you have a camera on your phone, and you can take pictures of your work. But now you have a whole bunch of pictures. You have to combine those into a single PDF and then upload that here. If you don't have a phone with a camera, there are scanning apps. You could use an actual scanner if you have a printer that has a scanner on it. If there's any hiccups with that or anything that you think might be a hiccup there, reach out to me ahead of time and we'll sort that out. But this is where you upload your work for your exams. So the other thing here, so looking at this top bar, I mean, we've gone through content. We're now on assignments. We've gone through that. We clicked on discussions. We talked about grades. Class list is where you can view your classmates' names, and you can actually send them messages. So if you want to form study groups, that's awesome. So you can do that way. Click on some random names and say, hey, do you want to form a study group? And we can work on stuff together. The only other thing here is quizzes. And I'm going to go ahead and click on this and see what the heck pops up. It's not actually quizzes. Again, I can't change the name of this. I would love to change this to forms, but it says quizzes, and there's nothing we can do about it. I got to emphasize this. If you ever see me post an announcement that says quizzes, if you ever hear me in person say the word quizzes, anything like that, I am 99% of the time not referring to this button that I just clicked on right here. I am referring to MyMathLab quizzes. This button here is the quizzes tab, and it takes you to just one thing. It's just a form called the proctored testing form. This is what you will fill out to let me know whether you are planning on taking the test using HonorLock or taking the test in person in a testing center. So that's it. That's the quizzes tab. There's nothing more to it. You hear me say the word quizzes, I'm talking about MML and those quizzes in there. So MML links is another module. It has links to MML stuff. This all assignments link is in every single one of the weekly modules, so you don't really need this MML links, but it is there. Yeah, honestly, I'm looking at this and I'm feeling like this is pretty good. We've got the weekly outline. Let's go to like week 5. Discussions, my math lab assignments, lecture videos to watch, links everywhere that the eye can see. Exams done in honor lock. You got to you got to write your workout, submit it as a PDF to the assignments folder. Honestly, that's a pretty good overview of this course. Of course, if you have any questions, you are welcome to shoot me an email. My email is just my name with a dot in the middle, so ryan.jones@frontrange.edu. I'll have all that post. I'll have my office hours posted as announcements, and you'll be on your way. I'll finish off again by emphasizing, please utilize me as a resource. I am here to help you, and I'm especially here to help you in this class because this is a 10-week course, not a 15-week course. So this is accelerated. If you've ever taken a summer class and you felt like it was really fast paced, this is the same length of time as a summer class. With 10 weeks, we have to cover a lot of material pretty quickly. Because normally in a normal, full fall or spring semester, we'd have 15 weeks. So it's quite a bit faster, and it is going to require you to check in on this course daily. You are probably going to feel like you're working on stuff every day in this course. That is sort of expected. But like I've said, you have resources. You have both me and any resource that I can also provide to you. So please utilize my email. If you're on the Larimer campus at all, you are welcome to utilize my office and my in-person schedule as well. I am here to help. So I'll go ahead and wrap up the video there. Again, I'm really excited for this course. I hope that you find it enjoyable. I hope you find it easy to navigate. And we'll see ya once the semester actually gets started.